$335 billion. That's the Al Thani family's net worth. And their kids? They're spending it faster than you can say cha-ching. We're talking private islands, diamond-studded phones, and shoes that cost more than your house. But get this, these royal rugrats ain't just throwing cash around. They're also dropping millions on charity. Yep, you heard that right. They're building schools while cruising on yachts bigger than football fields. Want to see how they balance billion-dollar bling with giving back? Stick around. From desert to diamonds, the Al Thani family's rise. Alright, let's talk about how Qatar went from a dusty desert to a diamond-studded paradise. Back in the day, Qatar was all about sand, sun, and camels. But now, it's got skyscrapers that make mountains look like anthills. The Al Thani family's been running the show in Qatar for ages, but they weren't always rolling in dough. Then boom, oil and gas changed everything faster than you can say black gold. Suddenly, Qatar's got more money than it knows what to do with. We're talking the highest GDP per capita in the world. That's crazy, right? It's like everyone in Qatar won the lottery at the same time. But here's where it gets wild. The Al Thani family, they're worth a mind-blowing $335 billion. That's not just rich, that's I could buy a small country rich. They've got so much cash they're probably using $100 bills as toilet paper. And they ain't just sitting on all that money either. The Al Thanis are out there buying up everything they can get their hands on. Fancy hotels? Check. Sports teams? You bet. It's like they're playing Monopoly but with real life. But hold up, it ain't all about the bling. These guys are smart too. They're pouring money into education and healthcare like it's going out of style. It's like they're trying to make Qatar the smartest, healthiest place on earth. Not a bad plan if you ask me. Now imagine being born into all this. The Al Thani kids have never known anything else. They've probably got gold-plated pacifiers and diamond-studded diapers. It's just normal for them to have anything they want whenever they want it. But here's the million-dollar question, or should I say billion-dollar question. How do these royal kids actually spend all that cash? They've got more money than most of us can even imagine, so what do they do with it? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the most insane displays of wealth you've ever seen. We're talking yachts that make cruise ships look like rubber duckies, cars that cost more than some countries' entire economies, and private jets that are basically flying palaces. These royal kids don't just spend big, they spend huge. They're not buying cars, they're buying fleets. They're not going on vacations, they're buying entire islands. It's a whole different level of luxury. But it ain't just about showing off. Some of these Al Thani kids are using their wealth to make a real difference. They're funding charities, supporting the arts, and investing in cutting-edge technologies. It's like they're trying to change the world, $1 billion investment at a time. So get ready to have your mind blown. We're about to dive into a world where money is no object and luxury knows no limits. From the most expensive yachts you've ever seen to cars that'll make your jaw drop, we're going to show you how Qatar's royal kids are living large. Private jets, flying palaces in the sky. Alright, forget about first class. We're about to take off into a whole new stratosphere of luxury. The Al Thani kids don't just fly, they soar in style that'll make your head spin faster than a jet engine. These aren't just private planes, they're flying palaces that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about air travel. Let's start with the crown jewel of their fleet, a Boeing 747 that's so tricked out, it makes Air Force One look like a paper airplane. This beast isn't just big, it's packed with tech that'd make NASA jealous. But that's just the beginning. Step inside one of these bad boys and you'll think you've walked into a 5-star hotel that just happens to be cruising at 40,000 feet. We're talking plush seating that'll make your living room couch feel like a park bench. And the entertainment systems? They're so advanced you'll forget you're even on a plane. But here's where it gets really crazy. These jets have private suites. Yeah, you heard that right. Bedrooms in the sky that are probably bigger than your first apartment. But wait, there's more. One of the Al Thani family's jets reportedly cost over $500 million. That's not a typo. We're talking $500 million for a single plane. You could buy a small island for that kind of cash, but these guys chose to put wings on their wealth instead. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how fancy can a plane really be? Well, buckle up with your gold-plated seatbelt, of course, because we're about to find out. These jets are decked out with amenities that'll make your jaw drop. Gold-plated everything? Check. Spacious bedrooms that'll make you forget you're flying? Double check. But that's not even the craziest part. These flying mansions come complete with their own gyms. That's right, you can work on your fitness while cruising over continents. And when you're done with your sky-high workout, why not catch a movie in the onboard theater? It's like they took a luxury resort and said, you know what? Let's make this fly. But all this luxury ain't worth squat if you don't have the right people at the controls. That's why the Al Thani family only rolls with the best of the best when it comes to pilots. We're talking specialized training that makes Top Gun look like a kid's cartoon. These pilots aren't just flying a plane, they're captaining a castle in the clouds. Now you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Well, for the Al Thani kids, these jets aren't just about getting from point A to point B. They're about redefining what it means to travel in style. When you're part of one of the wealthiest families in the world, you don't just hop on a commercial flight. You turn the journey itself into a luxury experience. But here's the thing. These flying palaces aren't just for show. They're a statement, a declaration that says, we're not just rich, we're in a league of our own. When you can afford to spend $500 million on a single mode of transportation, you're not just wealthy, you're playing a whole different game. And let's be real, these jets are probably more comfortable than most people's homes. Imagine never having to deal with cramped legroom or fighting over the armrest again. For the Al Thani kids, that's just another Tuesday. But before you get too jealous, remember that with great wealth comes great responsibility. These jets aren't just toys for the rich and famous. They're also used for diplomatic missions, charity work, and promoting Qatar on the world stage. It's not all champagne and caviar at 30,000 feet, although there's probably plenty of that too. Car collection, wheels worth millions. You thought those private jets were wild? Buckle up, because we're about to hit the road with the Al Thani kids, and trust me, their wheels are on a whole other level. We're not talking about your run-of-the-mill Ferraris or Lambos here. Nah, these rides are so exclusive, they make those look like budget rentals. Let's start with their garages. Most people dream of owning a house, right? Well, these royal kids have garages bigger than most people's homes, but it's what's inside that'll make your jaw drop. We're talking about a car collection that's worth over $100 million. Yeah, you heard that right. Their rides are worth more than the GDP of some small countries. But it's not just about the price tag. These cars are decked out in ways you can't even imagine. We're talking real gold and diamonds, people. Forget chrome rims. These rides are blinged out from bumper to bumper. It's like they took a jewelry store and turned it into a car. Now let's talk about their crown jewel. You know Bugatti, right? Well, the Al Thani kids have one that's worth $18 million. That's not a typo. $18 million for one car. You could buy a whole fleet of luxury cars for that price, but nah, they went for the one that costs as much as a small island. But here's the thing. They don't just buy cars off the lot like regular rich folks. Nope. These royal kids get their rides custom made. We're talking one-of-a-kind vehicles tailored to their exact tastes. It's like they walk into a car dealership and say, nah, I don't like any of these, make me something new. And some of these cars are so rare, there's literally only one in the world. Take their custom-made Lamborghini Veneno, for example. It's not just a limited edition, it's a only one exists edition. Imagine pulling up to a stoplight in that bad boy. You'd never have to worry about someone having the same car as you. But it's not just about showing off. These cars are also investments. Some of them are so rare and valuable that they'll probably be worth even more in a few years. It's like they're driving around in mobile bank vaults, and get this, some of their cars are plated in real gold and diamonds. Yeah, you read that right, gold and diamonds on a car. It's like they looked at a normal luxury car and thought, needs more bling. I mean, can you imagine parking that at the grocery store? You'd need a security team just to go grab some milk. But here's the crazy part. This insane car collection, it's just the tip of the iceberg for these royal kids. Cars are cool and all, but they're nothing compared to what these guys are sailing around in. Yacht life, floating palaces on the sea. All right, forget about those fancy cars for a sec, because we're about to dive into something even crazier. You thought private jets were wild? Well, the Al Thani kids' yachts are going to blow your mind. We're talking floating palaces that make regular cruise ships look like bath toys. Let's start with the Qara 1, the crown jewel of the Al Thani yacht collection. This beast is a whopping 124 meters long. That's like stacking up 40 school buses end to end. But size ain't everything. This yacht is packed with more luxury than you can even imagine. First off, the Qara 1 can fit up to 35 guests. That's like having a small wedding party on board. But here's the kicker. It needs 90 crew members to keep everything running smooth. That's right. There are almost 3 times as many staff as guests. Talk about VIP treatment. But what's all that space used for? Well, how about we start with the helicopter pad? Because when you're this rich, why bother with a boring old dock when you can fly straight to your floating mansion? And trust me, you're going to want to invite all your friends for this ride. Once you're on board, you'll find yourself in a world of pure luxury. We're talking gourmet dining that'd make Gordon Ramsay jealous, a private cinema for movie nights at sea, and a spa that'll make you forget you're even on a boat. But that's just the start. The Kara-one's got multiple pools and jacuzzis spread across its decks. And get this, it's even got its own private beaches. Yeah, you heard that right. Beaches. On a boat. The Thani kids have basically brought a slice of the Maldives with them wherever they go. Now you might be thinking, sure, but how much does all this cost? Well, hold on to your hats, because the price tag on this floating palace is a cool $1 billion. That's right, billion with a B. And that's just the cost to build it. The yearly upkeep? We're talking millions more. Just to keep this thing running smooth, you'd need to win the lottery every single year. But the Kara one ain't just about showing off. The Thani kids use it to cruise the Mediterranean and Arabian Gulf in style. Imagine waking up to a new breathtaking view every single day, all while living in the lap of luxury. Not a bad way to spend your summer, huh? And let's talk about the inside of this beast for a sec. The Thani family don't mess around when it comes to style. They've got the world's top artists and designers working on the interiors. Every inch of this yacht screams luxury, from the plush carpets to the priceless art on the walls. It's like sailing around in a floating art gallery. But here's the thing, the Kara one is just one of the yachts in their collection. Yeah, you heard that right. Collection. As in multiple floating palaces. Each one is decked out with its own unique features and design. Some of them even have their own submarines. 'Cause why settle for exploring the ocean's surface when you can go under it too? Now you might be wondering, what do they do with all this space? Well, when you're an Thani kid, the world is your playground. They host epic parties, conduct business meetings, 'cause even billionaires gotta work sometimes, and even use these yachts for diplomatic missions. Talk about mixing business with pleasure. But it ain't all just fun and games. The Thani family also uses these yachts for charity work and promoting Qatar around the world. So while they're living it up in luxury, they're also trying to make a positive impact. Not a bad way to use your billions, if you ask me. Palaces and mansions, living large on land. All right, let's talk about where these Thani kids lay their heads at night. Forget those floating palaces for a sec, because their cribs on land are next level insane. We're talking homes so massive they got their own zip codes. The Thani family's got mansions all over the world, but their main crib in Qatar. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. This ain't just a house, it's a whole kingdom. The Door Royal Palace cost a cool $1 billion to build. Yeah, you heard that right, $1 billion. That's more than some countries' entire budgets. But wait, it gets crazier. This palace has over 1,000 rooms. That's not a typo, 1,000 rooms. You could play the world's longest game of hide and seek in there and never get found. And get this, they've got a parking lot that can fit over 500 cars. That's not a garage, that's a whole dealership. Now you might be thinking, sure, it's big, but what's inside? Well, buckle up, because it's about to get wild. This palace has its own mosque, movie theater, and get this, a whole hospital inside. Yeah, you read that right. These kids don't even need to leave the house for a checkup. Talk about convenient. And the furniture. Oh boy, we're not talking IKEA here. Everything's custom made, featuring real gold and precious stones. It's like King Midas went on a shopping spree. You could probably buy a small country with just the couch cushions. But the Thani family ain't just about living large in Qatar. They've got properties all over the world. There's a stunning white palace in Oman and a super mansion in London. These kids are global players, living it up on every continent. And if you thought that was it, hold on to your hats. The Thani family's got their own private museum in Doha. We're talking over 15,000 items, including antique cars and Islamic art. It's like having the Louvre in your backyard, but with more horsepower. Now let's talk about how these royal kids grow up. From day one, they're surrounded by luxury that most of us can't even imagine. They've got access to private jets, luxury yachts, and high-profile events. It's like they're born with a platinum spoon in their mouths. But here's the thing. It ain't all just about spending. The Thani family uses their wealth for some pretty cool stuff too. Remember those yachts we talked about earlier? They use them for charity work and promoting Qatar around the world, so while they're living it up in luxury, they're also trying to make a positive impact. And let's not forget about the architecture of these places. We're talking majestic facades and grand entrances that'll make your jaw drop. It's like every day is a red carpet event just walking into your own home. Philanthropy. Giving back in a big way. Alright, so we've seen the cribs and the bling, but here's where it gets real interesting. These royal kids are dropping billions, and it ain't on yachts or mansions. What could be worth more to them than all that luxury? Turns out they're all about giving back in a big way. The Thani family's been known for their charity work for a while now, but the younger generation, they're taking it to a whole new level. We're talking about building schools and hospitals all over the world. Yeah, you heard that right. These kids ain't just chilling on their yachts, they're out there changing lives. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. One of these royal kids straight up donated $100 million to fight climate change. That's not pocket change, even for these billionaires. It's like they're saying, hey, we got all this money, might as well use it to save the planet, right? And get this, they're not just throwing money at problems, they're big on preserving culture too. They're funding museums and art projects left and right. It's like they're trying to keep the world looking good while they're saving it. Even their businesses are all about doing good. They're focusing on sustainability and social impact. It's like they're trying to make money and make the world better at the same time. Talk about multitasking, right? But here's the kicker, these Thani kids have donated billions to charity. Yeah, you heard that right, billions with a B. That's more than some countries' entire budgets. It's like they're running their own mini-country, but instead of keeping all the cash, they're spreading it around. They've got foundations set up for all kinds of causes. Education, healthcare, youth development, you name it. They're probably funding it. It's like they're trying to fix everything at once. And it's not just about writing checks. These royal kids are getting their hands dirty too. Well, as dirty as you can get when you're worth billions. They're out there inspiring the next generation to get into charity work. It's like they're saying, hey, if we can do it with all our billions, you can do it too. But here's the million-dollar question, or should I say billion-dollar question. How do they balance all this giving with their lavish lifestyle? I mean, one minute they're cruising on a yacht that costs more than most people will see in a lifetime, and the next they're building schools in developing countries. It's like they're living in two different worlds. One where they're surrounded by gold-plated everything, and another where they're trying to make sure everyone has access to education and healthcare. Talk about a split personality, but maybe that's the point. Maybe they're trying to show that you can have it all. The fancy cars, the massive yachts, the private jets, and still make a difference in the world. It's like they're redefining what it means to be rich. And let's be real, with the kind of money they've got, they can afford to do both. They can buy a car that costs more than most people's houses and still have enough left over to build a whole bunch of actual houses for people who need them. Education and business, not just trust fund kids. No. You might think these royal kids are just trust fund babies, but they're actually building empires that'd make even Jeff Bezos jealous. How are they turning billions into even more billions? It's not just luck. It's smart money moves and some wild ventures you won't believe. First off, these Thani heirs aren't slacking when it comes to education. They're hitting up some of the most prestigious universities in the world, like Oxford and Harvard. But they ain't just there for the parties and fancy diplomas. Nah, they're soaking up knowledge like sponges, learning how to manage their family's massive wealth and influence. But here's where it gets really interesting. These kids aren't just sitting back and letting their family name do all the work. They're out there starting their own tech companies and investment firms. Yeah, you heard that right. While most of us are trying to figure out how to make our paycheck last till the end of the month, these royal kids are launching startups that could be the next big thing in Silicon Valley. And get this, they're not just playing around in the business world. Some of these Thani kids are stepping into government roles too. They're helping shape Qatar's future, mixing that royal privilege with some good old public service. It's like they're building their own empires while also making sure their country stays on top. But wait, it gets even crazier. These royal kids are all about innovation and cutting-edge tech. They're not just investing in the same old boring stuff. Nah, they're looking at the future and thinking, how can we make this even cooler? They're putting their money into projects that sound like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. Speaking of sci-fi, you're not going to believe this next part. One of these Thani heirs has actually launched their own space program. Yeah, you read that right. While most of us are dreaming about our next vacation, this guy's dreaming about vacations to Mars. It's like they're not content with just ruling a country. They want to conquer the galaxy too. Now you might be thinking, sure, they've got all this money, but are they actually making more? Well, hold on to your hats, because these royal kids are turning their billions into even more billions. They're not just spending daddy's money, they're multiplying it. How? By being smart with their investments and always looking for the next big thing. Take Qatar Sports Investments, QSI for example. This isn't just some rich kid's hobby. Nah, it's a serious player in the sports industry. They've got their fingers in all sorts of pies, from owning stakes in major sports teams to broadcasting networks. It's like they're playing Monopoly, but with real sports teams instead of little plastic houses. But it's not all about making money. These Thani kids are also thinking about the future of the planet. They're putting their cash into sustainable initiatives and green tech. It's like they're saying, hey, we want there to still be a world left for us to rule in the future. And here's the kicker. They're not just throwing money at random projects. These royal kids are all about diversifying their investments. They know that the global market can be as unpredictable as a game of roulette, so they're spreading their bets. It's like they're playing 4D chess while the rest of us are still figuring out checkers. Controversies and criticisms, the dark side of wealth. So these royal kids are playing 4D chess with their investments, but here's the real question. Are they playing fair? Some folks are saying the game might be rigged, and the accusations against the Al Thanis are pretty wild. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, human rights. Qatar's been under fire for how they treat migrant workers. We're not talking about a few bad apples here. We're talking about poor living conditions and exploitation on a massive scale. It's like these workers are building Qatar's dreams while living a nightmare. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Al Thani family's been caught up in some serious political drama too. People are throwing around words like corruption and mismanagement of funds. It's like they've got all this money and power, but nobody's keeping tabs on how they use it. That's a recipe for trouble if you ask me. And get this, while the Al Thanis are living it up with their billion-dollar yachts and gold-plated everything, some regular Qatari folks are struggling to make ends meet. Talk about a wealth gap. It's like the royal family's swimming in cash while everyone else is treading water. No wonder people are getting mad and asking for a fairer share of the pie. But wait, there's more. The Al Thanis aren't just playing around in Qatar, they're flexing their muscles on the world stage too. Remember the FIFA World Cup? Yeah, that whole thing raised some eyebrows. People are saying the family's using their fat wallet to call the shots in international sports. It's like they're buying influence instead of earning it. And let's not forget about their business deals. Some folks are saying the Al Thani fortune isn't all squeaky clean. There's talk of shady deals and questionable practices. It's like they're playing Monopoly but with real money and real consequences. Even their good deeds are getting side-eyed. The Al Thanis donate millions to charity, but some people are wondering if it's just for show. Are they really trying to make the world better or just trying to make themselves look better? It's like they're throwing money at their PR problems and hoping they'll go away. But here's the thing. The Al Thanis aren't blind to all this criticism. They're trying to clean up their act and polish their image. They're making changes, promising reforms, and trying to be more transparent. It's like they've realized that all the money in the world can't buy a good reputation if people think you're the bad guy. So what's next for these royal billionaires? Are they going to keep living large and hope the problems go away? Or are they going to step up and make some real changes? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. The world's watching and they can't hide behind their gold-plated walls forever. Future plans. What's next for Qatar's royal kids? You thought hosting the World Cup was a big deal? That's nothing compared to what Qatar's royal family's got cooking. These Al Thani kids are dreaming bigger than Elon Musk on a sugar rush, and their plans for Qatar's future are so wild, they make their current lifestyle look boring. Sure, the 2022 World Cup put Qatar on the map, but these royal billionaires are aiming for the stars. Literally. They're not just talking about building fancy stadiums and hotels. Nah, they're planning to turn Qatar into the Middle East's very own Silicon Valley. We're talking a tech hub that could give California a run for its money. But here's where it gets really crazy. These Al Thani kids are throwing around ideas like building underwater cities. Yeah, you heard that right. Underwater cities. Like some kind of futuristic Atlantis, but with Wi-Fi and probably gold-plated fish tanks. It's the kind of thing you'd expect in a sci-fi movie, not in the middle of the desert. And speaking of the desert, these royal kids know the oil won't last forever, so they're going all in on renewable energy. They're throwing billions into solar farms, wind turbines, and other green tech. It's like they're trying to turn their oil-rich country into the world's biggest eco-friendly playground. But wait, it gets even wilder. Some of these Al Thani heirs are looking beyond Earth. They're eyeing space tourism as the next big thing. Imagine rocketing off to the moon in a gold-plated spaceship with the Qatar royal family logo on the side. It's not as far-fetched as you might think. All these crazy plans aren't just for show, though. The Al Thani family's investing big time in innovation and entrepreneurship. They're hoping to attract international businesses and top talent from around the world. It's like they're trying to build a real-life Wakanda in the Middle East. And it's not just about the glitz and glamour. These investments could seriously boost Qatar's GDP and create a ton of new jobs. We're talking everything from tech startups to renewable energy companies to, who knows, maybe even underwater construction firms. But here's the million-dollar question, or should we say billion-dollar question. Can they really pull it off? I mean, turning a tiny desert country into a global tech hub and underwater metropolis sounds like a tall order, even for billionaires. Some experts are saying Qatar's got a real shot at becoming a major player in the tech world. With the Al Thani family's deep pockets and ambitious vision, they could attract some serious talent and companies. Plus, after the World Cup, the whole world's watching to see what Qatar does next. But it's not all smooth sailing. Building underwater cities and launching space tourism programs ain't exactly easy. There are tons of technical challenges, not to mention the environmental concerns. And let's be real, not everyone's going to be thrilled about billionaires building sci-fi cities while some folks are still struggling. Plus, there's the whole question of what happens when the oil money runs out. Sure, the Thani kids are investing in renewable energy and tech, but can that really replace all that sweet, sweet oil cash? It's a gamble, but these royal billionaires are betting big on Qatar's future. One thing's for sure though, whatever the Thani family does next, it's going to be expensive, over the top, and probably covered in gold. They're not just trying to keep up with the Joneses, or should we say the Kardashians. They're trying to leave them in the dust.